Hey guys, welcome back to DJ's Workshop. Today we're going to be working on the 2000 Eurovan. One thing I've noticed recently, when we go on a trip with the vehicle and we come back, when I get out of the van, I can smell a little bit of coolant, which indicates that there's a small leak somewhere. Now recently I've had it down at the shop and we flushed out the whole coolant system, pressure tested the system. We don't see any leaks or anything going on there. What I think is happening is there may be a slight crack in the coolant reserve tank. So I've picked up another tank, okay? This is very hard to find. I went to the Volkswagen dealer and the only one they could find was in Canada. I had to have it shipped down. So if you're trying to find one of these, good luck. I will give you the part numbers off of here though. This is a 701-121-407-C. And then underneath it, it says D is in Delta, K is in Kite, 024, A is in Alpha, 02. So those are the part numbers that are on here. It should be a pretty simple operation. There's a hose on the bottom, there's a hose on the side, there's a connector, a couple of bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and swap this out. And I think it has to do in this area. There may be a slight crack. That's the only thing that I can guess that would be an issue, because like I said, we did pressure test the whole system, and when you do have the pressure tester on there, it is sealing this up. So if this was the leak and we sealed it to pressure test it, it wouldn't show it. But yet when you put the cap back on, you can still smell the coolant. So we're gonna go ahead and swap this out. Hopefully it takes care of the problem. So stay tuned, I'll show you how it's done. All right, so here's our tank. We just got a couple of things. So we get this line here, it just pops in there, it's not a big deal. We have this line here we got to take off, there's a line on the bottom, and then we have this connector in the back here. So let's see if we can get this connector off. Okay, so that just pops off. Okay, we'll swing that out of the way. All right, we'll get a pair of pliers and get this clamp off of here. I'll just get a couple of small bottles just to tilt the tank and save the coolant that's in there. I did just have this flushed out so that coolant is fresh, so we'll reuse that. All right, first thing we'll do, we'll take this clamp off of here. Slide that down. All right, we'll grab our little hose pliers here and we'll see if we can twist this off. Okay, now we have two, look like probably 10 millimeters back there. Let's get those off. All right, now I'm gonna see if I can capture some of this coolant here. It may be a little difficult because of the bottom hose, so let's do this. All right, so we're going to use our little suction thing here. And we'll just drain out as much of this as we can. All right, so it looks like as you're sucking the fluid out of the tank, it keeps rising up a little bit into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this line back on, I'm going to put the cap back on, we're going to tip the bottle over so that the coolant isn't coming out of the bottom. I'm going to pop that bottom hose off, I'm going to grab the new tank, put it back in there, and then we'll put it back in place. sure that clamp is out of the way so it's not holding it on there. Okay, so that's good, it's not leaking. Alright, so we're going to take this hose off of here, and we'll dump out the rest of this after. Okay, now we'll take the new one, and you can see this coolant right there trying to work its way up, so plug this back up. There is a tab here that goes into this slot in the frame, so you know. Okay. Alright, once we get that on, we'll put the clamp back on there. Okay, bottom clamp is on, that's good. Slide this back into place. That snaps in there. We'll put these two screws back in. Okay, now we can put this connector back on. Make sure that snaps in. We'll take this hose, put this back on here. Snap that back in there. There is a vacuum line that was here. You can see that came disconnected, so we'll make sure we plug that back in. Line snaps right into this little piece here. Put this clamp back on. Okay, so the bottom clamp is on, the top clamp is on, hose is secured, this vacuum line is secured, two screws are in, it's mounted on there, that connector's on there. Let's put this coolant back in there. So I don't think we really lost any coolant at all doing this. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and top off the coolant. This is what we use in the genuine Volkswagen G12 EVO coolant, 50-50 ready mix. Alright, so we're just going to top this off. Alright, so we're going to get her up to the full mark, and then I'm going to let it run for a little bit. This way, if there's any air bubbles in there, it'll purge out. Alright, so we're going to let it run for a little bit. I don't suspect that there's going to be any air in there because it was full right up to the top of the line and we just put it back in. There is a bleed valve here though. If you do get some air in there, then you can loosen that up and bleed some of the coolant out. So we're going to let this run for a minute and let it heat up and we'll see. Alright, so this tank didn't come with a cap, so I was able to order a brand new Volkswagen cap also. I'm going to put that on there. Okay, now you may be seeing this piece over here, what this is. It's actually a sensor hooked into a gauge that I have inside, and what it does is if the coolant drops below the minimal level, it's going to trigger that sensor and give me a warning inside, so it's just another fail-safe. Alright, so we're going to let this run for a little bit, we'll see what happens. Alright guys, so at this point everything seems to be functioning well. Coolant staying full, we have heat in the vehicle, we're up to operating temperature, I don't see any leaks anywhere. So hopefully this took care of the problem. So like I say, the issue was when we would go for a drive and come back, I would walk around the front of the van and I could smell coolant. So that indicates there's a leak somewhere. Because we had the system pressure tested and it held the pressure with no issues, I'm kind of under the assumption that it was probably this tank, because when you pressure test it, you're sealing this off. So if that's where the source of the leak was and you were blocking it, you wouldn't see any loss. So I was able to find one of these tanks, and it's really not that expensive. It's not that hard a job. It's only 2 bolts, a connector, 2 hoses, in and out. It's not a big deal. So if you have a similar issue where you're smelling coolant and you've already checked the whole system and you don't see any leaks, it's possible you may have a crack here. Gonna have to search around though. Like I say, this was the only tank I could find. It was in Canada. I had to have it shipped down. You know, maybe you'll get lucky, find one overseas somewhere or whatever. But if you need one, or if you have a leak that you can't figure out, that might be your issue there. Alright guys, I hope that helps. If you liked the video, give a thumbs up, a share, a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I will catch you guys on the next one.